Dwayne, so you haven't been around for a while. Where were you?
Well, I was writing Mystic Timbers over and over and over, trying to get that beast scene that I just can't seem to get.
What's up, Ride Warriors, and welcome to the Screamin' Horseshoe Q Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is back. The SHQ used to be a podcast, now a YouTube show. We are back and in business. As you can see, I've assembled some of the old people with a few of the new people. We've got Coaster Royalty. Dwayne, you are back, just like in the cold open, right?
I am back. How about that, right? You've invited me back. Had a great idea. This show is going to be one of those open shows where we kind of just talk about everything. And Danny was a part of the original one. We had a split show, if you guys remember back, my gosh, 7-8 years ago. We had an East Coast show. We had a Midwest show. And so we're bringing all that back. We're going to have the
Sub-Saharan show, I think, at one point.
what, much to people's delight, Andy and I were kept separated.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep the same topics. I know we started out. We had a This Just In, which was a news section. We're going to be kind of doing the same thing. You can hear my same dog probably barking in the background. You're also going to get the rant, or what we called "What in the Heck Were They Thinking?" That segment's going to return, and we're going to actually rant about something that's going on in the theme park industry. So we're going to have all of that, and really just a kind of an open show. So really looking forward to that. We've also got Jeff Goodman with us. So welcome to him. And so the four of us are going to go. Now, the format of the show is going to be different.
Hold on. I can't start the show until we get, the people have demanded that we get your catchphrase right now. Do it. The catchphrase, Dwayne.
The catchphrase. I was getting there.
No, we want it now.
We want to start the show right off the right way. So, time for you to go grab yourself an Oreo cookie and a big old glass of milk as we launch into the new season of Screamin' Horseshoe Q.
Yes! 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 Oh my goodness, there it is.
And if the ride is Maverick like your background, we'll get trimmed immediately after the launch.
Still my favorite ride.
Oh, Brian. So our first topic tonight in This Just In, we're gonna be talking about, gents, we're open for business. It seems like every major theme park is now going to be open. Disney's got plans. Universal's already open. Cedar Point just sued the state of Ohio to open up the park, where Governor DeWine came out and said, no dice, no soup for you. And they said, no, we do want soup. We are opening. We're going to sue you. And then DeWine says the next day, yes, you can have soup. And they are now open. So crazy thoughts. I guess I'll start. I kind of just recapped all of that. You know, we've been waiting for a very long time to hear that parks are opening. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw this out to you guys first. I know we didn't talk about this on the pre-show, but you know what? Screw the pre-show. We're going to do whatever the hell we want.
How safe 40 minutes to a pre-show, and we're going to throw it out the window.
Throw it out the window. How safe do you feel going to the park right now? Which one of us is going first day? Who's going? Any of us?
Depends on the park for me.
What park? Well, honestly, let's do a Brian Bass question. Question of the day. What park are you going to go to first, and when?
Do you want me to start? Because I got my answer ready. So
okay,
maybe I'll start.
Yeah.
For me, I know unless things go absolutely crazy, I'm going to go to Hollywood Nights. I'll probably end up driving, but I'm going to be going. But for me, the park that I envision myself going to first will be Hershey Park One, because I'm close by. Two, I don't feel like I need to be rushed through to ride everything if, I only want to go for a few hours, or if it's limited capacity, virtual queuing, that kind of thing. And I've got the season pass, which has already been extended to the end of June of next year, and one additional day for every day they don't open starting July 1st. They've indicated they expect to open early July. So I expect to have a 365-day season pass by the time Hershey Park opens. And most parks, Dollywood, Universal, so far to this point, have opened for season pass holders for a few days prior to opening to the general public. So if they do open for season pass holders for at least a day or two in advance of opening to the general public, I will be very tempted to go, especially if Candemonium is ready to open. If it will not open when they open their gates, that's going to change my mind. And I will probably end up going down during a weekday when I do go. If they just open to the general public first day, then I'll probably wait for a weekday to go when they expect to be a little bit less crowded. But if they do 2 or 3 season pass holder days and Candemonium is ready to open, I will be very tempted to make Hershey Park my first park of 2020.
Well, and that's the thing is I don't know, like, because I guess the question is Orion gonna open first, or is the park gonna open first? Is Candemonium, like, I don't even know what the answer is.
Candemonium's been running cycles for over a month now, right? So we know they've been testing it. We know that they're probably ready to open it. It's just whether or not they will. And
but the question, my question,
the mask thing is going to play into my decision as well.
Do they want that flood of people there for the new ride, or do they want to open, see how it goes, and then do the flood of people for the new ride?
Well,
I think that's the type of question you can't answer.
Well, and your other question comes too is, our media day is going to be out the door, because generally the whole idea for media day, right, is to come in, and that's really your first test where you have multiple people writing it, trying to get the marketing out there, trying to get the pictures, trying to get the video to show it. But is that even going to happen with what's going on? With this far into it, that's doubtful, right? So now you're looking to your season pass holders. Maybe you're not going to put the general public in, bring them all in, and just say, all right, go at it, because it's going to be an absolute disaster. It's going to be a chaotic mess. So one way to do it would be the season pass holder event. But from my viewpoint, is how are things going to be at these parks? Okay, what is the capacity level that's going to be allowed in? What's the capacity level in a queue line? I mean, are they literally going to be able to keep you 6 feet apart? Like, because that's going to be up to the people in the line. They're not going to have enough people working to go through and say, hey, are they going to have a 6-foot stick and say you need to be this far away? I mean, the logistics of all of this have to be a nightmare.
Some of us have a 6-foot stick that we can use for that.
TWSS, right? But like, seriously, like, how is that going to work in an industry where you are predicated on being close to someone around you at all times?
Well, you
down on line jumpers.
Well, you look at what Universal did so far, and I've had friends that went down for their pass holder preview. They, like, it seems like the stickers in the queues and lining up every other queue is kind of like the standard right now, which is fine if people, like you said, if people agree to that and they aren't like lining up. Dwayne, I get in fights with people for line jumping all the time, and sometimes they almost turn physical. Like, there's been some pretty dicey moments in my life in the line.
Sometimes you can legally line jump too.
Well, if you pay. But with the stickers, if someone walks up on me, I don't know if I'm going to be so cordial and be like, what the hell are you doing, man? And then the problem is when that person moves up on you, then the next people, it's a domino effect. And my buddy who went to Universal said, they're doing the virtual queuing, which a whole bunch of these parks have talked about. Cedar Fair, Dollywood, Universal. He said he got on 4 rides in a whole day. Now, granted, that's pass holder, but there is not a shot in hell that I'm paying $150 to go into that park or to do a line jump or a park jumper for $150 plus $300 flight plus a $200 hotel. There's no way I'm doing that for 4 rides. It's just not going to happen. And here's another thing.
Well, we're talking about an industry where half of the people who go are teenage and under.
Yeah.
They're not going to follow the guidelines.
Yeah.
It's not going, especially if they don't have anybody there telling them what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
It's
and
not going to
If
happen.
it's just a sticker on the floor, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So
and if you frustrate people by holding them up, it's just going to incentivize teenagers to misbehave anyway, because then they're going to get the reward that they're after.
yeah, absolutely. Like we all know that. Jeff, what park do you think you're going to go to first?
I don't know. I'm thinking fall, maybe late August. But I did book a trip to Busch Gardens, Tampa. Way back when. I don't know if I'm going to keep that trip or not, but that might be my first trip of the season. I'm kind of in the place where if I feel comfortable about going, I'm not sure if I'm there. I also have to make sure that my whole family feels comfortable about me going. Because even if I go by myself, I'm still coming home afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a tough one. I know my daughter really likes Lake Capounds. So if we end up doing a family trip in the summer, that might be our first trip.
Well, there are rumors floating around. The park president of Six Flags Great America had a long sit-down conversation with WGN's Marcus Leshock, and he kind of threw out the idea, and this was the first person that I heard throw out a real number. Besides Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus threw out a real number. I don't remember what their number was.
But Mount Olympus doesn't count because they don't care about guest safety on a regular
exactly.
day.
So,
Ever.
so they probably didn't count.
I've told the story of the Zeus train that went through 3 cycles because the operator didn't hit the brakes in time, right?
Yes. So the park president of Great America said that they could be limiting the park capacity to 2,500 people. Now, 2,500 people, to me, that seems really low, and that seems like something that I would be comfortable doing. These places talk about—
You keep 2,500 people in the park, I'll go every day.
Exactly, right? Because that means there's basically, if you think about how big, like we've all been to Great America, how big Great America is, putting 2,500 people in there, hell, 32 of them are in, or, even if 10 of them are on a coaster, there's, 10 different coasters in the park. You've got 100 people just on the rides themselves. So, like, to me, I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going week 1. I'm not going week 2. But come week 3, 4, somewhere in mid-July to the end of July, if a place like Great America is maintaining 2,500 people, that's going to be real tempting to go, because I feel safe in a place of 2,500 people, in a place that big like Great America.
Agreed.
Now, when you start talking about 50% cap, then I'm out.
But 25%. So if it's like 2,500, let's say that's the number. Is the park going to have all of the rides open? Because is that going to be feasible in regards to cost of running the park with that few people in the park?
Yeah.
Paying your employees, you're probably not going to hire as many employees, because I guarantee you a lot of the parks are going to have a hard time, I think, employing people like they normally do because of what's going on. So I think you put all of that together. Now, again, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, people are looking for jobs right now. Are they?
I wonder
in
the 90-degree heat with a mask on a ride-op, that doesn't sound like a great time to me. I think kids are going to be like, nah, I don't want to do it.
Well, I wonder a couple things that I've been thinking about and we've been hearing about, but this discussion here has made me think about it more. I wonder, is that number 2,500 people or whatever it is that true people, or are we talking about 2,500 groups? And here's how I think you do that. We're talking about reservations, right? Six Flags talking about doing reservations at all their parks. I got an email from Busch Gardens today saying that when they reopen, they're talking about doing reservations. You are going to have to, maybe not so much Universal. I don't know if they're doing the reservations right now, but I don't think they are. But let's take Six Flags Great America, for example. If you have to make a reservation to attend, which it sounds like you will have to do, couldn't you make a reservation for your family of 4 where it's mom, dad, and 2 kids, say? And those folks don't have to social distance if they're in the same household. So could you, in theory, have 2,500 groups in the same household? And that then becomes, I think, a more realistic number, because 2,500 people, bodies, doesn't even seem like a number that makes any sense to even open the park.
Right.
Now he did say that was to start with. So I don't know if they would adjust the number later on. But I think Six Flags, if I read the email correctly, is making you individually reserve days.
So those 4 people would have to get 4 different reservations.
Yes, and they're also staggering the entrance times too. So I don't know how that's going to work if you're making separate
you don't have
reservations.
everybody going through security right at 10 o'clock.
You know, and the problem is, well, if I make a reservation, I'm going through the security line at 10 o'clock, and my son's going through at 10:30, and my wife's going through. Like, how is that? Like, there's a lot of stuff, and my other concern is everyone's saying they're making this technology in-house, and that greatly concerns.
Well, we've seen how that works at Six Flags Great America.
I don't know. That 2,500 people had me feel uncomfortable for about a second. Now I feel uncomfortable.
Well, and here's another thing. As far as the employees go, Dwayne, you brought this up, and it's a good point. I think what you're going to see, the 2,500 people tells me one thing, and the staggered entrances that they're trying to disperse people, right? So in my mind, that means you're going to have to do virtual queuing, which means, are you just going to give everyone a flash pass when they walk in? Because that's ultimately how you would achieve that pretty easily, right? And that also means another thing. No shows, because you're not going to have people in theaters. You're not going to have people in stadiums or anything like that. So you're going to reduce your employee count by not having any shows this season. So that's one way to reduce your employee count, right?
I've already heard that show employees have not been hired at many parks this year. I know Cedar Point has not hired anybody, so that's not happening. And I've also heard, I don't know about anybody. They might have like street shows, but like the theater shows are out for the most part. And then I've also heard rumors, not confirmed, that Fastlane might be out for the whole season.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Well, if you got 2,500 people in a park every day, you don't need. There's no lines to jump.
Cedar Point said even for Cedar Point's talking about reduced capacity, so even 25% or 50%, they said Fastlane might be done for the season. Because they can't. How would you even? You'd almost have to use the Six Flags model of the platinum versus gold, and I'm going to take off time. And Cedar Fair doesn't have that technology. You can't scan a wristband and have people constantly going through the line. It just can't work.
The virtual queue might not get you right to the station, though. I mean, if you think about like logistics, that virtual queue might just be your entrance time into the queue itself. It could be that the queue has a reduced capacity because of the distancing, so they're staggering your arrival to the queue as well. But
so would the fast lane then jump you quicker to the queue?
That's what I'd pay for.
but I mean, if you think about it, and it makes a lot of sense in the Six Flags system, because you just program in the percentage of time that they have to wait, like they do today for the gold and platinum. For the fast lane, that's a little bit different. The virtual queuing, I would think, would work similar to how it is at Volcano Bay, where you get buzzed and then you go and you maybe wait in a 5-minute line. Because you've got some people, sort of like how Fast Pass at Disney tends to work. You end up going to wait in a short line. So the virtual queuing might work like that type of thing without the regular standby queue that Disney knows it as. And that might hold, say, in the case of Steel Vengeance, where you have, 24, 26, or 28 people, that virtual queue might be, 200 people in a 6 feet socially distanced environment where it might hold 5 to 10 minutes worth of people. That is how I would imagine that working. But if you have the Great America type thing where you only have 2,500 people, then you could say, okay, it's time to ride, and you just go show up and hop on the ride, because you're going to have very few people dispersed about a quite a large park.
Well, and the other question is, because Disney runs this system currently that Disneyland and Disney World to some extent, and people constantly show up at the wrong time, late. Oh, I had this, I had that. So how is that going to be dealt with? That's always the question. You don't want to make guests upset. Someone shows up a half an hour late, but in this scenario, depending on how you build your queue, you may not be able to accept an extra group of 10 to 15. I don't know how that would even work.
That's what I was just going to say, actually. And what I'm worried about with this system, and this is why I want to see how it works first, is that if there's no indoor dining, there's no shows, there's limited access to like retail sales, where are you going to go?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're allowed to kind of wander around and do other things and you show up late and you're still going to be admitted, then they're going to have to build that into like a buffer. If not, people are going to line up in front of the line.
Yes.
Right? They're just going to crowd in front of it waiting for their time.
Yes.
That's
the problem is if you have 50% of the people, if your cap is 50% and they're not standing in a 3-hour line anymore, that means there's going to be more people theoretically on the midway than you would have on a regular day.
And I think about it. I think about Hershey Park in particular when it comes to that, because if I go to Hershey Park on a busy Saturday or even a Friday that's fairly busy, you've got a half an hour line for Sky Rush, you've got a half an hour line for Great Bear, you've got a half an hour line for Storm Runner, maybe you might have an hour line for Fahrenheit. And if you reduce the number of people in the park by half, but you're pushing all those people out to Midway, walking around the Midway, then there's probably not much difference to how many people are out there. You could argue that people walking on the Midway, they're not getting super close to each other. And if you have the masks, then I think it's pretty low risk. For certain, the biggest risk of a theme park in terms of people being in close proximity to each other is 1, in the queues, and then 2, on the rides.
Yeah,
and if you don't have the regular queues, you have the virtual queuing, you can easily combat both of those by doing spacing every other row or whatever it is on the ride and doing the virtual queue. So that solves your 2 biggest problems, your third one being shows, and if you don't have shows, that solves your third problem.
Well, even like Universal didn't have anyone on the rides. Like they were showing like video of it opening with like 3 people on Harry Potter.
Well, nobody rides Hulk anyway. So.
Well, that's true.
Well, and here's something that I read today, and this was an actual source, reputable source online, that when Ohio opens up, which is what he talked about today, and this is part of the meeting that happened afterwards, after the actual general meeting on, people were asking questions in the media about, okay, what are you doing about sanitation of the rides? And they said there will be a time every so often that they have to shut the ride down to clean the entire area, the cars, all of that. So what kind of impact is that going to have on time?
Well, that's where virtual queuing, you can build that into the virtual queuing. You can build in where the rides are going to be shut down and not let people come ride them.
And honestly, maybe you have rotating rides that say Steel Vengeance is open, Steel Vengeance closes, Gemini opens, and those, maybe you rotate the ride ops, I don't know if the ride ops are cleaning it, who the hell knows. But maybe you have that like almost like a rolling blackout theory going through your park to try and mitigate that as best you can.
Well, that was always my biggest worry when this first started happening back in March, was all the touch points, right? Because you go to a hockey game or a basketball game or a baseball game or a football game in a stadium. Yeah, if you take away the close proximity to people, you're sitting in your seat, you're going to the bathroom, you might be buying food, and that's about it. When you talk about being in a theme park, you're sitting on benches, you're touching countertops when you get food, you're sitting in seats, you're touching handrails, you're touching shoulder harnesses, lap bars, seat belts, railings, all those different touch points that are in a theme park that don't exist. And people are talking about, well, if zoos can open, theme parks can open, and blah, blah, blah. But there are so many more touch points at a theme park just because of the different surfaces you come into contact with during the act of riding a ride, whether it's pushing yourself into the seat, pulling the lap bar down, holding on to the grip, putting the seatbelt in and the buckle and all that to get yourself out. All of those different things don't exist at a zoo or a museum, and that's the big thing that people don't realize.
And I've been saying, Texas is a state that opened up, one of the first states to open up, and Texas just decided to allow theme parks to open in the middle of this month. So So Texas, who
This
said
isn't
everyone
open
should
since
open
the
up.
beginning of May, and Dollywood isn't going to open until the middle of June. So
Yeah.
7 weeks after the state
So like
opened,
even these
Dollywood's open.
places that said we're going to open up everything except theme parks. We're not those are just disease-ridden, petri dishes waiting for disaster. But we're all opening now, so we'll see what happens.
Well, almost everything that you guys are saying is a total bummer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can we talk about maybe some of the good things? Because the parks being dirty is something that is a constant complaint that I hear, just
Mhm.
like on a normal season. So could we see like these enhanced cleaning products or the availability of hand sanitizer at the exits and entrances of rides become like
Standard.
a new normal, like in a good way? Like,
Well, it's interesting because
I think it has to be.
The WWE has been touting this new substance that you spray onto things, and supposedly you can spray it onto anything, and it kills stuff for like 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks, or if they start using stuff like that.
Yeah, our local airport has something. The name escapes me. I think it's called Casper, actually, like a ghost. And it's like a drone that flies and mists something.
Oh.
And they were piloting it there, and they said that it was going to go to JFK and LaGuardia and stuff like that. But that could be what you're talking about.
This was something that like you spray it once and it lasts for 3 weeks, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But
I think it's going to go much beyond the cleaning, though. And I won't take credit for some of these thoughts here. I'll give credit to Mike and EB over at Coaster Radio, because they talked about this a couple of weeks ago. But one of the things, more than the cleaning is great because theme parks can always be cleaner, right? I mean, like we said, there's so many different areas and so many different surfaces that guests and employees are touching. Theme parks can always be cleaner. Even the really clean ones, Holiday World, Dollywood, all those parks that are, Busch Gardens, all the parks that are really pristine and clean, could always be better. But I think the bigger thing that's going to come out of this, and not just for the theme parks, we are going to see a significant shift in just the way parks do things. And we've been talking about this at work, where we've been working from home for almost 2 months now. Actually over 2 months, closer to 3. And if you think, and we're talking about a phased return to the office, and if you think about, if you took 25% of the workforce that works in an office environment and had them work from home half the time, think about the reduction of the carbon footprint just in general, and the environmental ramifications from a positive note that has. Now, if you extend that sort of thinking to the theme parks, things that the parks have been slow to adapt to. And ironically, Six Flags has been somewhat ahead of some of the other parks, aside from Disney, to doing this. But mobile food ordering and not standing in a 45-minute line to order your food, ordering on the app. The parks have been very good with the apps. The virtual queuing, Six Flags has also done with the Qbot, the Flash Pass technology for quite some time. Those are things that this environment that we are in right now is going to force the parks to adapt in order to make guests feel more comfortable, but also to try and appease the local governments that are trying to keep everything in check here, right? I mean, and I'll go back to Walibi Belgium, or Walibi Holland over in Europe. They had the Flash Pass type technology that used to be a Six Flags park, but they didn't give you the little Tamagotchi thing. You did their cut the line pass on their app on your phone, and it worked just like Flash Pass. You got a code when you purchased it. You got a code that you entered once you were within the park, and it had GPS and everything to let you know you were in the park, and it activated on your date of arrival. And once the park opened, you could enter your code, and you did it right all on your phone. So you weren't touching another device that other people were touching. It was all right there on your own phone. And I think this is going to force the parks to enhance their apps, because some of the parks have good apps and other parks have really, really crappy apps, right? Yeah. So this is going to force the parks to invest in creating good apps that can do mobile food ordering, the virtual queuing, all that type of technology that they've been slow to adopt. and have sort of just been, sticking their toes in the water for, this is going to force them to get good at it quickly to improve the experience.
See, that's good. That's not a bummer.
No, that's because nobody wants to stand in line. So if you can cut, and I know people pay to cut the line, but if you can cut food lines out and you can cut, all that extra crap out of your day, that's going to enhance your experience.
I think if you're smart about how you do the virtual queuing, you plan it like you do with the Flash Pass, so that you give yourself time to walk to a new ride, so that by the time you get there, it's close to ride.
I'll tell you, the best virtual queuing I've ever done was at Disneyland. It was basically the old Flash Pass system at Disney World, but done on an app. And it was just perfect. I loved every second of it. I loved what I was able to do with it. I thought it was fair. I thought it was balanced. I thought it was well done.
And I think before we run out for this segment, having more people download your company's apps is ultimately going to benefit you, because it creates more synergy with the guest, and it gives the guest the freedom to go buy more stuff on the food lines, to buy more stuff in the merchandise, retail locations. It gives people the freedom to feel like, I don't have to wait. I can do X, Y, and Z until it's my turn. Well, and it's my turn instead of my wait.
And I'll tell you what else too. Horror Nights, there's rumors of them adding extra experiences onto the app, playing games, doing scavenger hunts while in the park, to give people other things to do because they're not in line anymore. So it's fine. It's occupying time too at some level.
And I believe that the app is going to nudge people so that they stay away from each other as well.
I have heard that too. I've heard that they're going to come in and tell you, get away from each other, socially distance. There's too many people in this area.
No, I think there's tremendous opportunity to advance and enhance the park experience by improving those types of technologies. And honestly, if you think about it, if you start doing virtual queuing, and that inherently has people have people ride less rides throughout the course of their day, you can still do all of your cut the lines and build that into your virtual queuing. That's not hard to do. But if that inherently creates the risk of people riding fewer rides throughout the course of the day, there's an argument to say that it might cause more people to spend multiple days at the park if they feel safe doing so, because they're not getting the frustration of standing in a line and having people cut in front of them in line. Because one of the things that upsets people most at parks is not necessarily the fact that there are long lines, because I think people expect to have long lines when they go to a theme park on a Saturday in July. I think it's when you're in a long line and the ride operators are slow and the line moves slowly, or people are jumping in front of you in line. So if you have the virtual queue, those frustrations are no longer visible, tangible things that the guest can witness. So I think your guest satisfaction and your guest happiness is probably going to improve, because they can go play games, or they can go buy food, or they can go do something else while they're waiting in that virtual queue. I think there's tremendous possibilities for positive outcomes there.
Okay, so that will wrap up this segment, and we'll be moving into our next segment of What the Heck Were They Thinking?
And welcome back to the Screamin' Horseshoe Q, and it's time now for segment number 2, and this is our segment we like to call What in the Heck Were They Thinking? It's a rant segment where we're going to pick one topic, and we're just going to give our thoughts and opinions on it and rant about the ridiculousness that it is. And so with that, we're going to send it down to our new guy down here, Mr. Goodman. What do you have for us? Yeah, I don't know where you're at. Yeah.
Looks the same for me. I don't know. Well, people.
Long Island, asshole.
Yeah, no shit. All right, so people on the internet I keep hearing the same refrain. I can't wear a mask in Florida in that heat in the summer. And I would say that people do it for barely a minimum wage at Disney for years. However, Universal apparently panders to shitposting and has added a mask rest area. So they're basically set up off to the side and surrounded by a corral, just like a smoking area. So the question is, can you smoke in the mask-free area? If you feel the mask is too stifling and need fresh air, do you have to sit with the
If you have a hole cut in the mask.
So what do you think? Is secondhand smoke equal to possible COVID breath?
I tell you what, okay.
It's like the logic where they put all the smoking areas in the cool shady spots. And no shade over the queue lines.
No shade over the queue lines. The smokers have shade. The queue lines, not so much.
Yep.
I just hear this over and over. And you know, we've seen multiple pictures of Asia that has, you know, similar climates to what we might experience here in different parts. You know, people in Asia have been wearing masks forever.
They've been doing this for years.
They've been doing this for years. And I'll be honest, I've worn out a mask. It's not the most comfortable thing. Probably I haven't really done it when I've been working outside or, you know, so like it's going to be a change for me. But at the end of the day, to me, in my mind, like if you really want to go to the park that bad, that you've been crying with tears on the internet for the last 3 months about how the parks aren't open. Oh, my rights have been violated. The parks aren't open. You've been crying for 3 months. The parks are open now, and you're crying again because you got to wear a damn mask. Stop crying about everything.
And I got news for you. Everybody who's saying trying to get out of wearing a mask because they have a medical condition that would cause them harm to wear a mask for more than 5 minutes. If you have a medical condition that causes you to not be able to wear a mask, you shouldn't be out in public right now anyway.
So it kind of makes me feel like Universal is actually the ultimate trolls if this is really what they've done and combined the fresh air and the smoking area into one segment. Could this be like an intersection of like the freedom part of the Venn diagram, or do you think that these two groups are going to really be butting heads?
So they're going to have cast members going up to the smoking areas with the wands going, Expelliarmus!
I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, if you don't want to wear the mask, I understand that. I understand they're uncomfortable. Nobody wants to wear the mask. Nobody wants to wear it. But if you really want to go to the theme park that bad, if this is like the end-all, be-all for it, guess what? When I'm sitting in a theme park, okay, and it's 115 degrees out, Dwayne, you will recall this day. We were just talking about it. When it's 115 degrees out at Six Flags America, and there's not a single tree in the entire back of the park.
I don't know that there's any. I don't think there's a tree in the entire city of Largo.
I am soaking wet. You know what I want to do? I want to take off my damn shirt. Is what I want to do. And
the Penguins Blizzard River ride is closed for maintenance for some reason in July.
I want to take off my damn shirt, but you know what? I can't take off my shirt because I'm in a theme park. And yes, the shirt's very uncomfortable when it's soaking wet.
Andy, I got news for you. The guests at Six Flags America and the employees at Six Flags America don't want you to take your shirt off.
They don't. I was so sweaty that day. I'm sitting on Batwing, and you know the Vekoma Flyers with their big vest. I thought I was going to slip out of the restraints. That's how lubricated I was that day.
But you know what's sad about that too is the best attraction that day was the Coca-Cola tent, where free Coke and free air conditioning. But you can't even have that during all of this because that would be too many people inside of a tent. So that's not going to work either. So here's my take on this whole situation. All right, if you want to go out to these places, you might as well, for the foreseeable future, get used to wearing one. It's going to be required. It is. People are so bent, especially here, that it's going to go back to normal. Like this is just going to be like, you know, something else that it's here for a little while, and then poof, it's gone. they don't get that this is not like, they don't understand that the normal is gone. That we'll never have that normal again. And if you want to go to these places for the foreseeable future, this year, next year, it's going to happen. There are states, and I know most of us are teachers here, there are states who are going to, if they do go back, make the kids wear masks. Can you imagine having a 4, 5, 6-year-old in preschool or kindergarten wearing a mask all day? That's where we're at. And so if you want to go to a theme park and it's required, if you want to go ride and you want to do it bad enough and you're one of these avid people like most of us are, you're going to have to do it or you're not.
Want to go ride Diamondback 500 times in one year? You're going to have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
It can have a snake on it if you want.
It's just mind-boggling to me. Theme parks have asked us to do stupid shit for so long. You know, like, I don't want to stand next to this fool in a queue line for 3.5 hours that smells and hasn't showered in 3 weeks. And I'm not singling anybody out, but we've all been in that queue line. I don't want to stand in the queue line with the idiots playing the stupid name game on their foreheads for 3.5 hours. That sends me up the wall. But you know why I suffer through these things? I suffer, and I'm not mincing words here. There are many days in the theme park that I am suffering through those queue lines. Suffering, and I do it because I want to ride the ride. And I say, you know what? My pain right now of having to have this idiot guess Britney Spears on their forehead for the last 30 minutes, I suffer through that because I want to ride Steel Vengeance. That's why I do it. So you know what's going to happen is I'm probably going to suffer through it again to ride the Voyage, to ride Steel Vengeance. I'm going to put on my Dan mask, put on a happy face, and go line up in the queue, hopefully 6 feet apart.
I actually drew a little happy face on my mask because I didn't want people to be screaming.
I don't have it with me. I got myself a nice little luchador mask from Mexico. It is way too thick to wear in a theme park, though. It is like super thick. It's like a real luchador mask, and I think I would suffocate.
Doesn't your nose stick out of those?
No, it doesn't. This one's it's really high up though. It's really cool. But I gotta find something else. I got myself a COASTER-net mask. I do have a COASTER-net mask. So if you see me out there in my mask, say hi. Thank you for wearing the mask. I don't know. I don't know what else.
That's exactly what I'll say.
I got nothing else to rant about. I think I've been yelling and screaming enough.
No screaming anymore.
No screaming. Sorry, I can't
that's right.
you.
I was going to bring that up, but I thought we could do that on a different show.
I tell you what,
that's kind of like what back in 2009 when the UK was going through all their weird things. This was around the time where 13 came out at Alton Towers, and they were saying you had to sign a waiver before you could ride, and you had to be at least 15, but not older than 65, and you had to take a physical before you could ride the ride because it was so psychologically terrifying. And then the Merlin parks or Tussauds, I think they might have been back then, where Thorpe Park was banning people from raising their arms on rides because of the body odor that the Brits were having.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. There's a group of people advocating to have your hands down, your arms down on a ride?
Yes, but it was Thorpe Park. I mean, Europe. You like to rail on Europe, but they were ahead of their time. Thorpe Park was because they were the arms down enthusiasts, not because views were being blocked, but because basically the British armpits stink. Is basically.
I believe on the list, though. I believe on the list, number 5 was body odor on the list of reasons why we have the arms down enthusiasts.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a good reason. I'm just saying it wasn't the reason that they were going.
Oh my God, I can't. I can't anymore. I can't. And any thoughts here on masks? I think we've said it all, haven't we?
No, there's not much else to say.
There's not much else to say. Wear the damn mask, right? So stop crying. So I guess that will wrap us up here for our return show of the SHQ. The SHQ is back, the Screamin' Horseshoe Q. We hope that you have enjoyed yourself here tonight. We've certainly enjoyed talking to you in a more informal setting, if you will. A little more, we get to have some
more
fun.
Informal than normal.
A little shoot the shit session, right? So Thank you for joining us here. If you're offended, please just comment. I know you will anyway.
Yes. Yes, you will.
So,
That's okay. We won't read the comments just like they don't watch the video.
yeah.
And I know that nobody made it this far into the video, so I don't care because nobody's watching at this point anyway.
So that's what we do here. Rip on the listeners. Woohoo!
That's right.
Hey, no one's
Speaking of
watching
which, go sign up for the Patreon. We're
Yeah.
making great 3D printed ride logo magnets for you guys who are
By
at
the way,
the $15 level or
Yeah.
higher. So after we just ripped on you, don't give us money.
By the way,
More money.
the Beast one is absolutely fantastic, by the way.
Oh, the Beat the Beast one? Oh, that
Oh,
thing is
oh my gosh.
fantastic,
It
isn't it?
is excellent.
That's
Absolutely excellent. Yeah.
Look at that bad boy. Oh,
Yes.
Danny, you're doing some quality work over there.
Absolutely.
You are doing some quality work. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I've got quite a few of them up here. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to be working on. Actually, working on a new one right now. As we wrap up.
So as always, I am Andrew Marchak from Chicago, Illinois.
I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
I'm Jeff Goodman from Long Island, New York.
I'm Dwayne Sponsteller from Parkersburg, West Virginia. And as always, may the queue lines be ever in your favor if the park's ever open.
Right on. The virtual
virtual
queue
queue.
line is ever in your favor.
There we go.
Right on, right, Warriors.
See you guys.